Okay, I want to know, what is one decision you made, one small, unimportant decision that you made that changed the whole trajectory of your life? And you don't have to explain, you don't have to tell me why. I just want to hear the statement or the question or the decision. Mine is super small. It's as easy as, hey, do you want to come drink on the grass in front of the dorms with us? And I'm not explaining that one, but it did. It changed my whole life. Made one small, unimportant decision that you made that changed the whole trajectory of your life.
I went at this. Watching the 10-year High School Musical reunion special on Disney Channel when I was 16 literally saved my life. I remember it so clearly. It was a late game on a Wednesday night. It was 2 days after a snowstorm. It was dark out. Me and my brother were walking out the door to go to our school's basketball game for a theme, a big game, covered in stuff already, decorated, face paint, whatever. My mom yelled back, "Oh my God, the High School Musical reunion just came on. Didn't you want to watch this? I'll record it. Go to your game." And I was like, "No, I feel like I should watch it right now." My mom's like, No, I can record it. Go to your game. Have face paint on." My brother's like, "Really? You're gonna, like, we're outside. We're in the driveway. You're gonna go back inside?" And I was like, "I feel like I need to watch it right now. Like, I don't know why, but I need to." My brother went to the game. He got in a car accident on the way there. He flipped his car. The passenger side hit a tree, completely smashing the passenger side, like not an inch of room. My brother was fine. He crawled out the back, not a scratch on him. I would have been dead.
One small, unimportant decision that you made that changed the whole trajectory of your life.
Back in 2014, I was 23 years old and I decided to go back to school for film, and I had no idea how to pay for it. And I read these 3 books, and it changed everything. The first one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, What the Rich Teach Their Kids About Money That the Poor Middle Class Do Not. I was like, okay, cool, I could potentially have money. Then I read this book, The 4-Hour Work Week, and I was like, oh, it's possible to have an online business where I could work part-time and go to school full-time. And then I decided to go to a Rich Dad seminar to learn about stocks and real estate. Like a seminar, it was a free seminar from the guy who wrote this book. During the seminars, back in 2014, one of the presenters went off script for a few minutes and talked about how his daughters were reselling stuff on Amazon. And I thought, that's interesting. So I went home, went on Amazon to find a book about that. And here it is. I read this. And since then, I've sold over $2 million on Amazon. Just because a guy spent 5 minutes talking about it at a seminar.
One small, unimportant decision that you made that changed the whole trajectory of your life.
So 3 years ago, I decided to go on a solo trip to Italy for no other reason than I felt a pull to go on a solo trip to Italy. I did Venice, Florence, and Rome, but at first I was only planning on staying in Florence for 2 days. So a couple months before my trip, I'm working at my job in New York. And this lady comes in. I'd never seen her before. I never saw her again, but it turns out that she had lived in Florence for a couple of years. We're talking, she's telling me how great Florence is, how much she loved it. And that night I decided to go home and change my trip so I would come to Florence for 3 days instead of 2, and I would come a day earlier than I had originally planned. So my trip comes. It's my first night in Florence, a day earlier than I had originally planned. And I decided to go to a jazz club that a friend recommended. In the jazz club that night, I met Dario. We spent my 3 days in Florence together. We were long distance for a year. He moved to New York for a year, and then in January, we decided to move back to Italy together. I started a new career. I started TikTok. I am 1000% going to marry this man. And all because I decided to come to Florence for 3 days instead of 2.
One small, unimportant decision that you made that changed the whole trajectory of your life.
I desperately wanted to take American Sign Language as my world language in college, but it was known that only athletes and seniors got in it. Somehow I ended up becoming friends with this softball player who I met through a mutual friend. I have no idea who she is today, but she signed up for the American Sign Language class, held it for me, she dropped it, I signed up. 2 years later, I have a epiphany, like I was punched in the face, that I needed to become a sign language interpreter. So I graduated with my degree in education and went right back to school to become a sign language interpreter. 10 years later, I'm fluent and still using the language as a career. But more than that, I have a 5-year-old son who has a genetic disorder, who is nonverbal and needs sign language to communicate. And I'm able to provide him with language. All thanks to that softball player who I have no idea who she is.
One small, unimportant decision that you made that changed the whole trajectory of your life.
A good one for this. Doing a random act of kindness and buying a stranger a ticket to enter an art gallery. I went to the Norton Art Gallery in Florida, And behind me in line was this young guy who was really cute. I found out that tickets were only going to be $5 when I originally thought that they were $10. So I told the lady that was selling the tickets I wanted two, one for me and one for my friend behind me. The lady at the desk thought it was really nice that I was buying him a ticket, and she even said so. But I was like, no, it's cool. He's going to buy me dinner later. Well, we walked away from the desk. I gave him the ticket and I said, hey, I was just kidding. I just wanted to do a random act of kindness. And this handsome man turned to me and said, I don't know about buying you dinner later, but I am a professional chef and I would love to make you dinner sometime. What? 7 years later, we're married with 2 kids.
Made one small, unimportant decision that you made that changed the whole trajectory of your life.
December 31st, 2015. So for New Year's Eve, my friends and I decided to get dressed up and go bar hopping downtown for the holiday. We ended up about 11 o'clock at a little bar that didn't have a ton of people in it. And my friend was messaging this guy that she had known on Tinder for like 3 months, and they had never met in person. They had never brought it up. They'd been talking daily, but they just hadn't had the chance to yet. And he was being super, super obvious, saying like, oh man, I wish I had plans tonight. What you and your friends are doing sounds so fun. And so we all start to get drunker and drunker, and she's still messaging this guy. Well, she ends up going to the bathroom at about 11:30. So I grabbed her phone and I texted the guy the address of the bar that we were at. And long story short, I am getting married to him. So that's pretty fun.
One small, unimportant decision that you made that changed the whole trajectory of your life.
In the summer of 2011, I signed up for a 6-month subscription of Match.com, and they were doing something where if you signed up for 6 months and you messaged a certain number of people every month, you could get a free 6 months. So it's like the end of September, and I've only messaged like one person, and I'm like, oh God, I gotta message some more people. So I start going through my matches, and I just start finding anybody that I think is like even kind of cute. And I messaged this guy who looked cute, but kind of like outdoorsy and athletic and adventurous, and I'm like, he's not gonna be into me. He was totally into me.
This is one decision you made, one small, unimportant decision that you made that.
Okay, so February of this year was one of the hardest months of my entire life. It was awful. So I wanted a whole reset. I was having like a quarter life crisis, and I wanted to be in a different industry. I wasn't happy with where I was. And so I decided to reach out to this guy on LinkedIn, who I met him 3 years ago at a random conference. And I just asked him about what should I do? What should I get an apprenticeship? Should I get a master's? Where should I go? And he legit messaged me back saying, well, I have jobs. And I was like, what? Literally interviewed the next day, got the job, and uprooted my entire life. I moved from Chicago to Miami, Florida, and now here I am trying out everything new, and it's crazy. I'm like a completely different person than I was just a few months ago. It's amazing. Message people on LinkedIn. You never know.
You made one small, unimportant decision that you made that changed the whole trajectory of your life.
One day I was scrolling Instagram and I came across this account that was teaching people how to travel for nearly free using credit card points. I was super intrigued because I wanted to travel, but I felt like finances and the expensive cost of travel was holding me back. I decided I was going to try this, and so I got a credit card and I earned the points and repeated that process, and then 9 months later I was in Hawaii on a vacation with my husband. Since then I've redeemed close to 1.5 million points worth $50,000 of travel. Now I'm taking all the things that I've learned and I'm teaching beginners how to do this so they can travel like this as well. I never imagined that when I stumbled upon that Instagram account 4 years ago that it would lead me to this.
What is one decision you made, one small, unimportant decision that you made that changed the whole?
I used to be in a band with my sisters, and many years ago, we decided to do an interview with a random magazine. It was a small magazine, we hadn't heard of it, we'd never met the person, we just happened to decide to do it. We totally could have said no. So we become friends with the girl who's doing the interview because she's pretty cool, and then a couple years later, she meets somebody who sees me on her Instagram and is like, oh my god, I think she's so cute. I used to have a crush on her when I was 12 because I watched her YouTube videos, and I really want to meet her. So this guy gets backstage at my concert because he knew people, I don't know. He introduced himself to me, we start dating eventually, and now we are married. But it doesn't stop there. That man, my husband, and this relationship has shown me so much about myself to where I switched religions, left the career that I was in, moved to a new state, I physically, mentally, spiritually, literally in every way would not be who I was if we didn't do that interview many years ago.